What's going on, guys? It's your boy Kev here, back with another video. We're doing some more NBA prize picks tonight. As you guys know, I like to kick these out every day I can. So let's get right into it. Guys, if you're new to the channel or new to prize picks, let me give you my quick little rundown. So prize picks is a daily fantasy sports platform where instead of picking players, you actually pick the overs and unders on the point projections of players. So if you guys look here, we got Joel Embiid at the first player at 50 points. I can either take the over or under on 50 points, depending how I think he'll do. And I can pair that with another player, and I can do that 2, 3, 4, or 5 times between that many players. So it's sort of like a parlay in that aspect. And obviously, the higher risk, the higher reward. So if you try to go for all 5 players and nail it and get all 5 right, you're going to win some good money. My favorite aspect, as I talk about every time, is that you can do this between different sports. So I can take the over on Embiid, like I just said, switch over to the NFL, and I can take the under of Mahomes at 25.5 or whatever I want to do, and mix it and match it any way I want to. And if you guys do sign up for Prize Picks, please use the code DGF. It really helps us out, supports the channel. We notice when you guys do it, it always says. So really appreciate that, guys. If you get a chance to do that, that'll be awesome. And as you guys know, I like to talk about the promo that we offer too. If you use our code, they will match your deposit up to $100 for your first one. So it's pretty awesome. You put $100 in, you get $100 credit as well, which is obviously, who hates free money? So definitely something to consider. But let's get right into these Prize Picks. And we are not on football, though, unfortunately. You guys know how much I love my football. We'll get to that later in the week. But, we're going to go over these, still some pretty good NBA prize picks here. So starting off with Joel Embiid, as I talked about, 50 is pretty steep for most players, or just any player in general, I think is still steep. I mean, I was looking at whose numbers was it the other day. Granted, this is on ESPN scoring, so it's a little different. But I was looking at Jokic, and, he's playing, I think, better than anybody in the league right now. And in ESPN scoring, he's actually still averaging 58. So that should tell you how hard 50 is to get to still. But that being said, I will take the slight over here. I mean, Joel has cleared 50 in 5 of his last 7. He now faces a bottom 5 defense against centers, so I do like that. He did have back tightness that made him, miss Sunday's game, so it is something to definitely monitor. But I believe he should play Wednesday. But if you're someone who wants to avoid that because of the injury and you think it could affect him, I understand that too. It's definitely something we want to monitor closer to lock for that game. Moving on. Gordon Hayward. I mean, I told y'all Hayward is back in my good-ish graces. He's not quite in my good graces, but he's had a couple good games for us. But I think he's still takeable and, prize pickable in certain circumstances and situations. I don't think this is one of them. It's a tough defense he's playing against, a top 5 defense, and even with PJ Washington out and Terry Rozier a game time decision, I'm probably still going to avoid him, especially where there's some decent picks on the slate. I don't think you have to really force Gordon Hayward into your lineup by any means. So let's just avoid Hayward again. Moving on to Sabonis, someone also I like to avoid a fair bit. I hate him, as you guys know. I always avoid him. He's so inconsistent. I just can never get behind taking him. If you want to take him over 45 after his, he had a 58-point game last game, so I do understand that. And also, it is a miserable defense that he's playing against. It's the worst defense in the NBA against a position in Milwaukee. So if you're a believer in that, but I'm just not a believer in his consistency. And like I said, there's some decent picks on the slate, so I'm probably just going to avoid, to be honest. Moving on, we got Giannis at 55. 55 is super steep. I just talked to you guys how steep I thought 50 was. 55 is crazy, but believe it or not, I'm still going to lean the slight over. As much as I hate, like I said, 55 is a ton, but, as long as he's healthy, I will take the over. And health is something to be, very, very, pay attention to, because you got to be cognizant of it with what's going on with him. He had a knee contusion, which set up the second lowest amount of minutes we've seen him play all year at 26. So, that was pretty bad last game, 26 minutes for him. But as long as he's good to go, I actually love him for the over. He is playing the worst defense against the position in the NBA. So, you have someone at that talent level against that poor of a defense. 55 is not too hard to get to. I mean, that is steep, but again, as long as he's healthy and ready to go, I don't hate it. Moving on to another stud facing a bad defense. Seems like, this is kind of the tail of the slate. So, but at Luka is actually one I will take the under. Again, miserable defense he's playing against. Super favorable matchup, but I will not take it, to be honest. I'm just going to avoid this one. I don't think it's, I don't think it's viable on this slate. I shouldn't say I'd avoid it, but I would take the under. I can't believe I'm saying take the under for a guy, that we just talked about, but against the worst defense. But again, it's tough because I mean he's been under 54 a lot, and specifically, you guys know I love that 70% threshold, and he's been under 70% of his last 10 games, 7 of his last 10. He's been under that 54-point mark, and more recently he's been under 4 games in a row. So I don't know. I mean, he was lights out in the beginning of the year, looked like a #1 overall pick in I know fantasy formats. It's not the kind of Luka we've been wanting to see lately. So that being said, I will take the slight under there. Not my favorite pick on the slate. We'll talk about my favorite one next, but you absolutely can still take it. Moving on to Young, guys. You guys know Young is my favorite prize pick player right now, and just straight up my favorite one. I mean, I love him. Told you guys last slate he was a lock. He was my favorite pick to smash that. And I said smash that over. He was absolutely one of my favorite picks. In his last 7 games in a row, he has hit over 7 friggin' times in a row. So he is on a 7 over streak. That's crazy. And in his 8th game back, where he actually missed it, he missed it by 0.1. So he is absolutely crushing it. He is playing lights out. I don't know if it's Hunter being out. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely seen an uptick in his volume, his usage, and his obviously production. So love to see that. But yeah, that's an easy over. I mean, against a pedestrian Dallas defense. So, I mean, I'm going to keep riding that hot hand. I've been taking him over like the last 2-3 slates. I can't help but think, he does it again. He's probably going to be my favorite pick on the slate again. Moving on to Kawhi Leonard at 45. I'm going to avoid Kawhi at 45. You guys know I usually don't touch Kawhi anyway. He's just so friggin' inconsistent. He has good games. He has his bad games. 45 is pretty accurate for him. In his last 12 games, just to kind of bring you guys into the world where I'm, where I'm coming from. In his last 12 games, he's been over that projection of 45 points 6 times. He's been under 6 times, and that is a nightmare. That is someone you want to avoid and not have a firm stance on, because clearly it's going to burn you half the time and benefit you half the time. Not what we like to see. So yeah, going to avoid that. Moving on to Andre Drummond. Someone he's getting a little more love from me. I think he's a good player. You guys know I always like Drummond. I just think he's got some inconsistency woes. I think he's got some big game potential, but he's showing me a little bit of consistency I need to see now. It's just enough to push me over. He's actually cleared. He's had some dud games. He's had some 20-point games, some 20, maybe had a teen game in there. It's pretty bad. But that being said, he has cleared this 43-point projection in 8 of his last 11 games, which is obviously amazing. That's lights out. So that's obviously over 70%. And I'm definitely going to probably, take the slight over on Andre Drummond on this slate. So it's good enough for me to throw a dart at, I think. But that's going to wrap it up, guys. Let me just give you guys a quick little rundown again. You guys know I like to make this quick, give you some of my favorite picks, and they'll add a ton more by the time slate locks. I think we still have, do we have the, second half going on here? Like these guys, I'll tell you right now, who are on the slate, were on the slate earlier for tonight. These guys weren't on the slate at all last night when I looked. Not one of them. So there you go. They keep adding more, so something to pay attention to. But yeah, Drummond, I will take the over of 43 slightly. Kawhi Leonard, I'm going to avoid as usual. Young, I'm going to smash over at 46. He's my favorite player. If he doesn't hit it, don't shoot me. But, it's just got to ride the hot hand there. Luka, I'm going to take the under. A little nervous about that, but, he's been consistently under. So that's something I want to look at. Giannis, I'm going to take the over at 55, which is kind of crazy, but again, worst defense against the position in the NBA. Just monitor his health. It is something, obviously, that's very important. Going to avoid Sabonis, as I usually do. Gordon Hayward, I'm going to avoid, as I do a lot of the time. And then Joel Embiid, I'm actually going to take over 50 against, a bottom 5 defense. And but another person we definitely want to monitor his health. Him and Giannis are the ones we're definitely going to want to look at the most. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you sign up for Prizepicks, please use code DGF. We have a ton more content coming out this week. We have the Super Bowl, we got UFC, and I'm thinking of doing the you guys can let me know in the comments if you're interested in it, but I'm thinking of doing something like just some of my opinions on some of these upcoming fights, whether it's MMA, whatever. I mean, we're talking about Askren versus Paul. We're talking about Mayweather versus other Paul, and some of these crazy fights and just hypotheticals. Talking about John Jones going to heavyweight. So I don't know if that's something you guys would be interested in. I'd love to just do a breakdown of those fights, just some thoughts on it, and just kind of Q&A and just kind of voice my opinion on that. So if it's something you're interested in, again, let me know. But that'll wrap it up for the video, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell. And as always, let's cash.